Can you say a little bit more, because I want to go back to this, this sort of like busyness and saying yes to everything and what that's really about, because I think so many women can relate to that.
Yes. So we are told, especially as women in our early childhood, so all of us, our kind of mindset and our nervous system is set before the age of 7. Some people say up to 9, but from birth to 7 years old, we get confirmation to be a good girl. That look at you, you're so productive, you got your homework done, you went to practice, you did all the things, good job. And can you help mommy put the dishes away too? And don't forget to help your brother get his snack prepared. And so it's not just conditioning, our neuro wiring and our belief systems are patterned to say, do the thing, don't complain, get it done.
There comes a time, somewhere after 50, when you realize home isn't just about where you live. It's about how you live. It's about who you're becoming and what you're ready to make space for. I'm Julie Ford, real estate expert and longtime wellness coach, and someone who's lived in a multi-generational home for the past decade while reinventing my life and my business. And this is Home After 50, a podcast about what it really means to find, shape, and come home to a new season, to a new home, to a new version of yourself. Whether you're thinking about upsizing, downsizing, moving in with family, or just asking bigger questions about what's next, you're in the right place. Each episode, I will share stories, insights, and real strategies for women redefining home and life on their own terms. Because after 50, home isn't just a place, it's a calling. And this time, it's yours. Welcome back to Home After 50. Today, I am diving into a conversation that feels especially meaningful as we head into the holiday season, a time that, according to our guest, tends to magnify whatever is already happening in our homes, our families, our bodies, and our hearts. My guest is Erin DiCarlo, founder of Dovetail Companies and a nationally recognized age well expert. But today's episode isn't just about her professional work. It's about the real life experiences, transformations, and lessons that so many midlife women will instantly recognize. In addition to her deep professional expertise, Erin brings an extraordinary personal toolkit to this conversation. She's a certified Neuro-Somatic practitioner and certified essential emotions coach, blending nervous system-based healing modalities with the emotional intelligence and practical wisdom she's developed over 2 decades in the field. Together, we explore what this past year has held for both of us, a year of massive personal and professional shifts, loss, unexpected change, and the kind of growth that feels like its own kind of rebirth. We talk openly about what happens when life asks you to let go, start again, or show up for family in ways you never expected. Erin also shares simple, science-backed nervous system tools you can use during stressful moments, especially holiday triggers, family dynamics, caregiving responsibilities, and the emotional loads so many adult daughters carry. You'll learn how to spot your stress responses, how to interrupt them, and how to create more calm, capacity, and connection in your daily life. We also get practical about things like how to approach sensitive caregiving moments without urgency or overwhelm, how grief, change, and family history show up at the holiday table, and how to create small, meaningful moments of connection with aging parents, even in complicated circumstances. This episode is heartfelt, emotional, deeply human, and full of tools you can actually use in the coming weeks, months, and honestly, years. Let's dive into it. Hey, Erin.
Hi, Julie.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. This is fun, and I feel like the cosmos had this in the works for a long time, so it's fun to finally be here in this moment with you.
I agree, and I think we both believe in divine timing, and a lot has happened this year, so it sort of makes sense to me that we're having this conversation like this far along in 2025, this year of enormous shifts for both of us in so many ways. And also, and this is one of the reasons I really wanted to have this conversation with you now, going into the holidays, because it just brings up so much for women and for families. And I just know that there's going to be a lot that we'll talk about today that I know other people will be able to relate to. And also, I think, take something away from that will be helpful to them over the coming weeks and months.
I agree. I always say the holidays just magnify what is. And so all the things just get put under a spotlight, the family dynamics, the grief, the overwhelm, all the things. The holidays just, I think, give us, and we'll talk about today, how can we use it to shed light on the areas that maybe need a little bit of support and love and work for ourselves. But it's crazy when you just said this past year,
Yeah.
I'm like, how? And it hasn't even been a full 12 months of total change yet. It's been like a solid 9.
Yeah.
Which is interesting when you think about like gestational period of like
Ooh,
humanity and
yeah.
that
How long
process.
to make a new life?
It's wild that it's only been a year or 9 months and how much has changed personally for both of us. So,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's listeners that have gone through wild change or transformation, or at the beginning, maybe someone's hearing this in the beginning of a season for them and their transformation. And I'm happy for us to be able to show witness that you can get through whatever season you're in, transformed in a better way on the other side.
I love that point because I do think, if we look back to, and we'll obviously get into this a little bit more, or a lot bit more, if we look back into everything that's happened for both of us this year, and I want to really say, especially you, I think there were obviously times that it felt very difficult and very surprising, even shocking, and really hard. And if other people who are maybe at that, like you said, at that earlier point in a transformational journey are feeling discouraged or feeling afraid or feeling worried, I do hope we can,
Yeah.
bring some comfort, maybe an encouragement and inspiration to their process, because it is a process, right?
Process. And it's like if you think about pregnancy and birth, it's beautiful, yes, in many ways, but it's not easy. But
No.
what comes on the other side is worth all of it. And so that labor, that last piece of the transformation,
Yeah.
is kind of the hardest, but it's
Transition.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Absolutely. So people probably don't know that you and I have a long, long history because we are second cousins, and it's been such a joy these past few years to like unexpectedly end up working together. So the backstory here a little bit, everybody, is that Erin and I were sort of like, so we're 14 years apart. So we're, been at different points in our lives for a long time. Like my kids are older than your kids, but so we were kind of going along different paths at different times, but then we sort of started this side by side, but in different ways, real estate journey that had so much more to do, especially for you at that point, than real estate. But we would run into each other, right? Like at Christmas parties or whatever, and be like, we have to talk for years before we ended up finally working together. And I went and worked with Erin's company. And at that time, we were working primarily, almost exclusively, with older adults, helping them in transition. And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast is there's many reasons, but one of them is that I just have learned so much from you about working with older adults, supporting families. And that has really led to eventually my career transformation as well. And then earlier this year, Erin and I unexpectedly parted ways in a very like surprising transformation. Yeah.
Beginning of the transformation. It wasn't planned. Yeah.
Yeah. We just, reflecting back now, it feels bigger than us. Like it felt like we were both on our own journeys, and it just became obvious that they had to diverge, not as family members and not as friends, but professionally. But that wasn't easy, right? Because we were very entangled and we had to untangle that and figure out. Now I'm going to cry because I'm thinking about something. We're going to cry in this episode. I know we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Buckle up, everyone.
All right, buckle up. One of the reasons I feel like we survived and maybe thrived through all of that so well is that we always tried to keep perspective on who we are as people and what we value. And what we, I think, value almost more than anything else is love and family. And that was never so clear as when we experience what we did with your dad this year.
Yeah. I do believe it's all divine intervention, and our lives we're not in control of a lot of this, and love has prevailed throughout these last 9 months. And even I want to back up a little bit about you being 14 years older and us being family members. Like, you modeled for me at a very young age what it feels like and what it actually looks like for a woman to follow her dreams and her own path. I remember coming to watch you sing in a band one day when I was in like my late teens. I remember you were a representative for like a holistic wellness product, and I was so excited to buy the product and learn more about nutrition and wellness and wholeness. I remember you nursing your babies and me being curious about what's that like. And someday when I have children, I remember visiting your first beautiful, cozy little home and just being like, oh, someday I can have my own space. And so you modeled for me in my formative years, like what it can look like and feel like to be an independent woman with all of these different ideas and opportunities and do the thing. And like, it's okay to follow a path that may not be linear and find joy and contentment. So I just want to say thank you for showing me, because obviously that's been my journey in different ways, is like not following a linear path, but being open to opportunities that are presented to me and fully stepping into my passion. So thank you for that. And I'll never forget where I was sitting. I was in my car about to walk into a continuing care retirement community in Lincoln, Massachusetts, when you and I had the conversation about, would you ever want to come and join us in the work that we do with older adults in transition? And I think it did change both of our lives in different ways, and wonderful, positive ways. But when you talk about that entanglement that we had on a lot, we had logistical entanglement, financial entanglement, family, whatever. We showed up so fully for ourselves with integrity in that, for each other with love and compassion. And like, even when life is like messy and hard, it can still be rooted in love. And as you just said, and that all happened. And then my dad, no one knew what was going to come a short time later this past spring and summer, where my dad, who Juli and her family are very close with, became very ill and passed away 42 days later. And so it's all good. And I'm just thrilled to be here today. And there's so much for us to talk about. So let's.
Yeah. So, okay. I went right to the emotional stuff. But so let's change paths just a little bit. And I want to hear from you now, after all of this transformation that you've been through, which, was personal, was professional. Like, where are you now? What are the takeaways, or what have you learned? What's most important and present for you right now?
So first and foremost, I've spent my entire adulthood, I've spent the last 22 years out in the world healing and fixing people that were facing like major challenges, stress, family dynamics, emotions. And I'm just always been this like overachieving, overproducer. Now I know, unhealed nervous system in the background operating. Like, I'm just going to go out and help everyone. And what I wasn't aware of, that was and I think for a lot of caregivers listening to this, it feels good in the moment to be helpful and do the thing, but we're at a detriment to ourselves, the people who are closest to us, our family member, our children. And so I found myself in this burnt out, stressed out state continuously. I lost my best friend, Erin, to a brain tumor. And then 18 months later is when we had our big change at Dovetail. And then a few months after that, my dad passed away. So over 24 months, I had gained like over 25 pounds. My body was lethargic. It was hard to wake up in the morning. And so I was going into not knowing this big season of change, just overwhelmed, depleted, and stressed out. Last February, so February of this year, I attended a women's conference. Kate Northrup is one of my mentors, and I attended an in-person session with her, and there was many, but one of the most amazing presenters was a woman named Elizabeth Kristoff, who teaches the Neuro-Somatic Intelligence Institute. And that is simple daily neuro drills, nervous system healing tools, where we can slowly over time signal safety to our primal back end operating system, our primal brain, so that over time, when we have a healed nervous system, we can show up in a state of more calm, clarity, and connection to do whatever the thing is, to show up to a client with clarity and expansiveness, to have a difficult conversation with your spouse, or to address your child, to show up for high performance athletics. Like, you name the thing, these tools I, by the way, thought I was learning all of these tools to go help older adults and their families have tools to manage the overwhelm and the emotions. What I didn't realize, over the 12 weeks, it was a very intensive course. You yourself obviously have to practice these tools every day. There's a lot of clinical practice in this program. And so I started having people in my life comment on this kind of new version of me they were seeing. So they were seeing me not as overwhelmed and distracted, but a little calmer, a little more connected, and just this different energy about it. Interesting enough, because in true Erin fashion, when I go all in for something, I go all in. I also, at the same time, another woman at the conference, Robin Jones, runs a training called Essential Emotions, where she trains people on how to use essential oils to help process deep-rooted emotions that live in our bodies. It's a very simple, straightforward process, but it's pairing essential oils with emotional connection and processing the heavy emotions. So I was using these essential oil emotional processing techniques and these nervous system healing tools every day. And then when my dad got sick, and my mom actually was diagnosed right at the same time with a pretty severe diagnosis, I was showing up in this really different version of myself.
Yeah.
And so while I thought I was learning these tools to go fix and heal the world,
Oh, guess
I
what?
realized it's you.
It was for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my father, although that death and dying experience was very hard, it was extremely beautiful. And
Yeah.
I was able to be so present to him and my kids, and be able to fully take away the beautiful lessons through that 6-week experience, because I had this new tool set. And so what's happened for me, I have never been more called and motivated in my life to bring these simple daily use tools to the world, to older adults who are feeling overwhelmed, to the people who love and care for them, to children. My kids have been right in the trenches with me, to law enforcement, first responders. Like, we can all live a fully expressed, healed version of ourselves out in the world with more capacity and more compassion if we just had actual tools, which I now have, to utilize. So that's where I'm at. And I'm just like so excited to share some of this.
It's so beautiful because, we can't control what happens around us. And I think, how old are you now? Are you 41?
I'm 42.
You're 42. Okay. So
nope, I'm 43. I had a birthday in December. I'm like, hold on. No, I'm 43.
Oh, you're 43. Okay. So that's wild, because I think you are, oh my gosh, yeah, you're like exactly the same age that I was when I lost my dad. And which is interesting, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad was your dad's uncle. So I'm just thinking about, I remember when I lost my dad, I was like, this is too soon. Both of our dads died too young, right?
Young grandchildren, that they adored, both very involved with their grandchildren.
Yeah. And, but the reality is that's what happens, right? In life, and we can't control it. I remember fighting like my own self or God, like when my dad was ill, because we fortunately had more time to prepare for my dad's passing than you did for your dad. But, if I had had those tools back then, I can imagine it would have been quite a different experience. We were fortunate. My mom was leading the way. We had a beautiful experience with hospice. Like, we really did have a beautiful death experience with my dad. But I know I would have felt so much better supported, because my health, it's interesting that you said that about, about the gaining weight and feeling like exhausted in the morning. Like, my health went completely out of whack over those years and following that. And of course that aligns with the perimenopausal years as well, which is like a whole other thing. And children, becoming adolescents and going through puberty, which I always said that's a bad plan to be in perimenopause when your kids are in puberty.
I'm in that stage right
I
now.
know. So I love that you did this and I love the divine timing of it that, all of these tools came to you and you knew to say yes to it before you even really knew why.
Yeah. But it's funny, that's the repatterning I'm doing with my, rewiring my beliefs. I mean, the fascinating thing about these tools, and today is not about neuroscience. We can do a separate conversation on that. You create new neural pathways in your brain, which increases your overall brain health and neuroplasticity when you do this. And you just see things differently and you show up differently because of what's actually happening chemically in your brain. But I don't even need to know any of that. You just get to feel it and it's wild. So hopefully I can share a few nuggets today that can help all of you listeners who might be.
Yeah. Where do you so what part of your life do you feel like now you see it show up most strongly? Like you have four kids, right? I can
Yeah,
imagine your household may feel different these days.
yeah. The biggest is boundary setting.
Mm.
Like I'm a human who says yes to everything. I volunteer, I coach field hockey, I volunteer at church and youth group and like all the things.
Yeah.
And I realized that was a stress response. That was a over driven to distraction, unhealed nervous system needing to constantly be busy. And so now I'm able to really make decisions. Is this in alignment for me? Does this help be the full version of myself that I'm looking to be? And most often the answer is no. There's a few things that I choose to do,
Yeah.
but it's for the right reason. I also think back on my dad's death experience. I would have been so overbearing to my wonderful, beautiful stepmother, Lisa. I would have been trying
Mm.
to micromanage everything because I'm now self-aware that a lot of my adult behavior, that control was a fear response. When you don't feel in control over things that are happening, you over insert control in other areas. I didn't show up that way because I had healed that kind of fear response part of my sweet little nervous system that was just trying to stay safe.
That's so interesting. Can you say a little bit more? Because I want to go back to this, this sort of like busyness and saying yes to everything and what that's really about, because I think so many women can relate to that.
Yes. So we are told, especially as women in our early childhood, so all of us, our kind of mindset and our nervous system is set before the age of 7. Some people say up to 9, but from birth to 7 years old, we get confirmation to be a good girl. That look at you, you're so productive. You got your homework done. You went to practice. You did all the things. Good job. And can you help mommy put the dishes away too? And don't forget to help your brother get his snack prepared. And so it's not just conditioning, our neuro wiring and our belief systems are patterned to say, do the thing, don't complain, get it done. And so we're just set, many of us. Now, that's not for everyone.
Yep.
So the F responses of our nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, flop, and fawn. Flop and fawn. Flop is
I'd
if
never heard of flop before. That's
flop's like depressed state.
oh,
So
okay.
I just, there's people who just shut
Shut
down, go
down.
on the couch. Depression is a symptom of flop. A chronic flop state is severe depression. It
Yep.
is safe to just do nothing. And maybe that was modeled for them. It's just a survival technique. So if you tend to be someone who's like, and just binges Netflix or can't get out of bed or off the couch, you just have a sweet little nervous system that's keeping you safe by going into flop response.
Mm.
And then many women fall into a fawn response. So if you grew up in a emotionally abusive or physically abusive household and you couldn't escape the threat, or maybe your mom, there maybe were mental health issues or an intense mom or a chaotic environment, and you couldn't escape the threat, you would appease the threat.
Mm.
You would say, oh no, it's okay, I'll handle that, don't get upset, I'll do it, mom. And so whatever your natural response was in childhood just gets a well-oiled neural pathway, nice myelinated response for adulthood.
Mm.
And so I am a fight and flight person. I am like, oh, there's fear here. Like I'm either going to tackle it head on or I'm going to just go run and do a million other things, flight response or
Mm.
people driven to distraction. And
Okay.
so our behavior is just an output of how our brain interprets the situation. And our simple little human being minds don't understand that, like, if you have to hop on a Zoom call and you don't realize it's not a tiger that's chasing after you. It's like the perceived threat doesn't have to be an actual threat. It's just something that makes your body feel uncomfortable.
I'm laughing because this happened to me yesterday. I'm usually better about this, but I'll give you the silliest example, but I think people could relate to it. So yesterday I was filming more like B-roll video for my socials, and I had to you guys, it's a lot of work, right? Like I had to set up the whole house for Christmas, even though it's the week before Thanksgiving, to get ahead of this. And I had arranged with my daughter to film us. And she woke up late and I didn't wake her up until, I don't know, like all these things were happening. I literally had 20 minutes after everything was set up, my hair, my makeup was done. And then I had a meeting and I was stressed about it. I'm like, come on, come on, come on. We have to just get this done. And she's like, Mom, like you own your business. Like who's telling you this has to happen right now? I'm like, well, me, because I decided, but I was allowing myself to get into, I wasn't fun to be
I'm going to
around
give
yesterday
you
morning.
this at the end of today. Everybody will leave with this simple little tool that they can use in those moments. You can do it every day to signal safety, but like in the moment when you feel yourself getting heightened,
Yeah.
like we go flop on the couch, do this thing and see if you still choose to flop on the couch, or you notice yourself in the tailspin before you yell at your child, do the thing.
My 22-year-old child.
There's still always children. I'm excited to talk to everyone today about that. I don't
Okay,
care
cool.
how old your children are, they're still your baby.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we need to know?
Yeah, so a few things. First, I want to say, everyone's like, happy holidays, have a happy Thanksgiving. I just want to call out for a lot of people, the holidays aren't happy or fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons behind that. Sometimes, like for us, for me and my family this year, this is the first holiday season without my dad.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, there's grief and loss. And for the older adults that I support, there's a lot of loneliness. Not everyone has this really fun, engaging family situation. Maybe they can't get to be with families across country, or there's a lot of what we refer to as solo agers who just don't have traditional family systems. But I've also noticed for adult children, there's this like anticipatory grief. Like they're anticipating, oh boy, I'm going to see mom. There's some dynamics there. Like there's just like, it's not happy because it means more in my workload. That's one thing our society has done with holidays. For people who are already baseline feeling maybe overwhelmed by life or their circumstances, what's going on, we just throw all this additional stuff on people. Like, in addition to now I have to cook a meal for everyone. How am I going to make sure mom is ready to come to the holiday? Who's supporting my mom? And so the baseline, I just kind of back to the nervous system for a minute, or threshold of threat. So think of a bucket that's filling up with water. The holidays bring just in the base of that bucket, before we throw anything else on, there's just this increase. And when our buckets get full, they overflow. The overflow is the output. And so I mentioned in the beginning, the holidays are just this magnifying lens on old family patterns, dealing with Uncle Joe, who maybe stresses you out. We're not feeding our body nutritious fuel. That's been the other fascinating thing that I've learned. Our brains need quality nutrients to perform well. Our nervous system, which starts in our brain, needs basic things. So if we're throwing in alcohol, high sugars, carbohydrates, like that's
all of our favorite holiday things.
Yeah, it's all just increasing that bucket. And I think that adult daughters, they are this like invisible structure of caregiving.
Yeah.
And there's so many levels getting added within that structure that it just kind of bursts. It's like this emotional labor.
Yeah.
Caregivers who tend to be, I don't want to say it's just adult daughters. If there's any men listening, we see you, we feel you, we honor you, but it tends to be. And then that's when everybody, Juli and I are included, when that bucket is full, that's when here's your sign that you're overloaded: resentment, hyper productivity, anxiety,
annoyance.
responsible. You have to hold it all together. That's how you know you've reached your threshold.
Yeah. So what do we do?
Yay, yay. Here's the thing. Stress isn't just emotional, it's a physiological response in your body. And so caregivers who are living in this constant state, they're living in, so you have a parasympathetic and a sympathetic nervous system, but your chronic sympathetic overactivation, which is what you're living in, your body is screaming at you. You need to do something. So this is a perfect time to try just a simple tool. I'm going to give you, typically tends to be a high payoff for everybody in order to, so we're taught that N equals 1, which means one nervous system is one nervous system. Everybody's different. Tools work differently for everyone. So if I teach you something that doesn't work for you, not to worry. Julie will have details in the show notes on some additional tools I can give you. But I'm going to give you one called the lip gloss. You can do it literally anywhere. And the way to know if it works for you, so your nervous system doesn't care. It's like your old primal brain. So even if you're like, oh, I don't feel any different, it's not about your thoughts. So I'm going to give you an assessment tool. You're going to assess yourself. We're going to do the tool, and then you're going to reassess yourself to see if you notice an improvement.
Oh, I love that. So we're getting out of our heads and into our bodies.
Yes, this is all about living in chronic stress, getting out of your head, connecting into your body. Somatics means soma, which in Greek means body. So I'm going to have you do what's called the cactus arm. So if you can't see us, everybody, let's start with your right arm. Hold your right arm into a right angle. And then I'm just holding my shoulder bone just so we're not like out of whack.
Yeah. So we're like lifting our arm up. So it's sort of making an L.
If you're going to make show someone your muscles.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yep. And then you're just going to drop your wrist and notice, your rotation. So look to your right and notice where your arm drops, your degree of drop. Okay. So you and I are both like,
I'm kind of like level to the floor.
Yeah. Now do your, our brains work in two different hemispheres. So now do your left.
The other side. Okay.
Like I have a little more rotation on the
me too. Yeah.
I don't know. Brains are weird. Okay. Now we're going to do the tool.
Okay.
So if you're listening and not watching, take your pointer finger on your dominant hand, take a deep breath, feet on the floor, close your eyes, and you're going to slowly trace your lips all the way around 3 or 4 times. Like you're putting on, by the way, you can dip your finger in lip gloss and do this.
You could actually be putting on lip gloss with your finger.
Yeah. So close your eyes. Now, Julie and I are hosting a podcast, so it's, a little awkward.
We have to keep looking at each other and making sure we're doing it right.
Keep going.
How many times are we doing this?
3 or 4.
Okay.
And Julie, because we're in a heightened stress state, just because we're recording a podcast, the effectiveness, I'm curious what we both get for a response. But for any of you at home, just breathe and slowly trace your lips. Okay. Take a nice inhale in and out. Let it go. Audible sighs are great. It's like let it out. Now reassess.
Okay. Back to the right arm. Oh my God.
Yay.
Did you see how much further my arm went down?
I got a great response too. Now do your left.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So that's a high payoff tool for you. So just jot down lip gloss.
I won't forget lip gloss. That's a great name.
Yeah. So if you just did that every day, some people, we call it habit stacking. Like when you do it right before you brush your teeth or when you wash your face. So if you do this morning and night, you're signaling safety to your nervous system. And I'm going to explain what that is, what that assessment is telling, what our body's telling us in that moment.
Yeah.
But that's a great tool when you are getting worked up about Alexa trying to get whatever. Literally stop and do your lip gloss. Go in the bathroom, do your lip gloss. It's also good in traffic. I do that sometimes if I'm in a checkout line that's really long. Anytime I just notice my body, if you have tightness in your chest, a pit in your stomach, your jaw is tight, those are signs that you're in an F response. Your body's telling you something's not right.
Oh, it's like one of those 5 Fs, whatever your F response is.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've learned 150 of these tools. The lip gloss is one. We build toolkits over time. I've learned, with individual clients, but The lip gloss is a high payoff tool. There's a couple of other simple ones that maybe we might or may not have get time to, but we'll make sure all the listeners get access to this.
That's awesome.
But what's happening is when our body is in an F response, our heart rate increases. This is what's happening physiologically in our body. Our heart rate increases, our vision narrows, and our body tenses. Do the thing, fight the tiger, run away from danger. It's just what our body does in stress. But in this day and age, we don't have to necessarily do the thing.
Right.
And so we're just living in this chronic state. And so when you're tense, your range of motion is tight. And so when we signal safety by doing a simple drill, the reason your arms drop further and your range of motion increases is because your body feels safe to do so. What happens with your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs, you actually have more range and more resonance to see more options, to think a different way.
Yeah.
To respond differently.
So what is actually happening? And I understand that different tools will work for different people, but like what is actually happening when we're doing the lip gloss? Like,
so you
going
are
on?
creating, you are creating a new neuro tag. So if you were actually in a moment of danger, your body wouldn't, you're forcing your body to pay attention to a physical sensory,
Okay.
right? Your eyes are closed, which if you were in real danger, you blink less, so you're closing your eyes to show your primal brain.
Oh, okay, I like that. Okay.
I don't need to take in information.
Yeah.
I'm feeling my lips, which is not something you'd be able to do when you're in danger. And that behavior, just a neurotag is like, have you ever smelt a certain bread baking or cookies? And
I have so many scent related neurotags. Yeah.
So you're like, oh, grandma's kitchen.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Totally.
So
a shampoo, an essential oil. There's so many. Yeah.
Yes. So what'll happen over time, just touching your lips like that, your brain remembers, oh, that was a safe, calm moment. I could relax and calm down in that moment.
Yeah.
And so you're creating these new neural connections in your brain that can quickly signal safety. Like for people that do a drill every day for 30 to 60 seconds, within 2 weeks, they just need to start to trace the lip. And they're like,
and it speeds it up. That's interesting. So you can use one of these tools regularly to signal more safety on a regular basis to your body, and you can also use them in the moment when you're finding yourself in an F response.
Yes, think of like lifting weights at the gym. You wouldn't just like go in and power lift a heavy weight, right? You would slowly over time increase your capacity and ability. So daily simple nervous system healing drills, in which, by the way, over time we increase the load on this. Like this was the simplest form, but there are high performing athletes that use this as a training drill. There's this for traumatic brain injury, stroke recovery. There's tools here that can like really optimize your whole system. But yes, you do it every day just to remind your nervous system it's safe and it's healed. And then you're more apt to use it. That's what happened with me. I was just learning these tools each day in the program. And then organically, I found myself at different times throughout the day using the tool.
Yeah.
And so now my overall baseline over time is a completely different state. And what I love about today's podcast is like, we can talk about caregiving burnout. We can talk about overwhelm. We can talk about having, and I do want to talk about anger towards the person you're caring for or whatever, but we didn't have a tool to like, okay, so now what? These tools are like, so now do the thing and repattern this.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when your nervous system's calmer, your interactions with your parents or whoever you're caring for can be calmer. Like this is where caregiving becomes sustainable, is when we have tools to care for ourselves so we can show up whole and full and grounded.
I love that. You know, it's so interesting because I had someone on the podcast, the last episode, and you'll love to listen to her. Her name's Amber Chapman. She's an aging and play specialist. She's dealing with caring for her aging parents. She's been off and on a full-time caregiver for them lately. And she said something that just was so simple and made so much sense, but it totally relates to this. And she said that the quality of the care is equal to the health of the caregiver.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
so true, right? And it's
But
so,
anyone favors by showing up a mess and overwhelmed and stressed out,
yeah,
especially. But
right.
yeah, so true. And we're all just a small inner child. Like, you know, we need nurturing and we can't expect other people to give it to us. This is a small daily, I hate the word like self-care routine, but it is. This
But
is a
it
small
is. Yeah.
nurture you so that you can show up fully. Um, Also, these are great tools to teach the person you're caregiving to.
Mm.
Because I mentioned so much of our F responses are based as just a fear response for older adults, back to like I was learning these tools for my older adult clients that I still have that mission. Their behaviors, their frustration, their outbursts could benefit from these tools. We haven't yet talked about essential oils. That's a big piece of this practice. And one of the reasons essential oils are so successful with the nervous system healing, we have 12 cranial nerves. These are nerves in our head that connect directly to different parts of our brain. But your cranial one nerve, which is your olfactory system,
Mhm.
connects directly into your prefrontal cortex, which
Yeah.
is the front of your brain. And when you use essential oils, you want to talk about an effective neurotag, you immediately change the composition of your prefrontal cortex. So when you, for example, if we used an oil right now, did the lip gloss, and then inhaled an oil again, within a few weeks, all we have to do is smell the oil because we created that neurotag.
It makes
And
so much sense. Yeah.
it's so amazing. I've
Yeah.
just built out a protocol for cognitive impairment, the oils to use at different parts of the day, just diffusing in the older adult's background. But these are tools you can just have in your purse or in your pocket and in the moment bring that in. And so pairing some of these simple drills with specific essential oils to create kind of the perfect little toolbox for the human.
That is beautiful and it makes so much sense to me. You know, I'm a huge fan of essential oils. I've been working with them for years. And what I've learned is, I've gone through a spiritual training with essential oils and I've got so many practices that I've practiced over and over with myself, with other people, that now I literally just have to open a bottle and my whole system is just in a completely different place. I'm like immediately present,
And
grounded.
what a fun, like, I also want to talk about joy. What a fun way to have an engaging activity with the person you're caring for.
Yes. Yes.
Let's use some oils. Let's do some simple nervous system healing drills. It benefits both of you,
And it's
right?
fun.
It's fun. It gives you
Yeah.
something to do. And it can change everything for people. That's what's been beautiful is to see the science behind this. It's so
Yeah.
simple, like
Yeah.
so simple. And we'll make sure that we share some of those resources too. Um, but I do want to keep us on that talk track about caregiving and like
Yeah.
that back to fear.
Mm.
There's this just basic undertone that I, for 22 years, have educated and presented on, but it just is what it is. Parents don't want to be parented often.
Yeah.
And when we dive in as well meaning, sometimes overbearing adult daughters, that fear for them is real. And so their output, their behaviors of don't tell me what to do, and maybe you as a caregiver not feeling appreciated, it's all just fear based. And so if we can find some of that safety, signal safety, those dynamics can start to change. But if you're comfortable going here in this podcast, talking about like what are some real ways to change maybe the caregiver's approach in those situations,
Mm.
or
I love that.
what to say when you're walking in for a holiday and mom still isn't dressed and guests are showing up in 10 minutes. And
Yeah. Okay. Let's get like really practical and really specific, right? So you arrive at your parents' home or relative's home and something is not what you expected or hoped it would be.
yes. Interesting fun fact about elder care. Our busiest season, our phones are off the hook the day after Thanksgiving until the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
Here's why. So the rest of the world shuts down, goes on vacation, corporations are off, and everyone in elder care is running around like crazy people because people are seeing their loved one at a holiday that maybe they haven't seen for a while. And mom sounded fine on the phone. Every time I check in, everything's good. I'm good. And then
Mm.
they come in person. Maybe they haven't seen them since the last holiday. And maybe there's, moldy food in the fridge. They're unkept or they've lost weight. And so panic sets in. So here we go back to that fear response. And so they dive in to fix and heal and help their loved one. But for the receiving end, the older adult, it's too much, too quick, all at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I like to say, a real tangible piece of advice, it's not about us. And so we have a desire, our fear response, we have a desire to dive in and fix and heal and what is going on. But we have to use a tool, take a step back and say, what does my mom need right now? I like to talk about titration, small, doable, manageable bites over time for them to be successful. So right now in this moment, what does my mom need? So let's say mom's disheveled, you show up, she's not ready to go. So mom, what do you need for help right now for us to get ready to go? Because maybe she's in pain and actually needs Tylenol before she can move her arms to put her sweater on.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe she's so sad because this is the first holiday without her spouse.
Yeah.
And she needs a minute to just like talk about her grief. Our need is to like get her dressed in 10 minutes and out the door.
Yeah.
Here's what I know to be true for doing this work for so long. When we slow down and figure out what her need is, the rest goes quick.
Yeah.
So address the need. Mom, what do you need? What feels good for you right now? That's doable. Get that done. Then the other pieces will go quicker. If we just steamroll, whoa, slow down.
What if you're talking with a parent or a loved one who doesn't know what they need?
Yeah, this is where we can, I love the idea of co-creation, collaboration.
Yeah.
Versus so many and I'm one of them, so many well-meaning adult daughters just like want to give the solution.
Yeah.
But if the solution is not in alignment for the older adult, it's just not going to go well. It's actually going to put up massive boundaries and barriers and slow down. So if mom doesn't know what she needs, let's talk about it. So I try to look at kind of the pillars of social, emotional, physical, like what's the thing? What's going on? So take a minute to say like, well, first let's talk about how are you feeling? And do you have anywhere in your body that you're noticing this feeling for you? Like just high level, if people have tightness in their chest, that's their heart space. That's where maybe there's an opportunity to just give a little love in that moment if you can. If they don't know what they need, hold their hand. If they're open to it, always ask about physical affection, a hug. If they notice it in their stomach or low in their groin area, if there's any pain in like their lower sacrum area or lower abdomen, that's usually safety, your primal need for safety. So maybe there's been this just happened yesterday in a client case. There's been conversations that the current housing situation isn't working. We're talking about moving mom somewhere. And now she's like debilitated with diarrhea or something else. It's because the basic need of safety is being maybe pulled out from under them.
You just reminded me of something. I don't know, you might be too young, not now, but you may have been too young to have noticed this when it happened. But there was a time when my grandmother stopped going to your grandmother's house for family holidays. And they were on different sides of the family. But it took us a while to figure it out. She just like refused to stop going. She would only come to holidays at our house. And it turned out she was starting to choke sometimes when she would swallow food. And she had one scary experience and she got very afraid of that happening in a place that she didn't feel like 100% comfortable. Not that your grandmother's house wasn't wonderful. It was, but like she only would feel comfortable if that happened at her daughter's house, which was my mom, our house.
So the choking episode is an example of a strong neurotag, right? So like when this happened, that happened, fear connected to that, and it's strong. And so that's an example of like, if you have an older adult that has something like that, have them use a nervous system healing tool right before the meal to signal safety.
Yeah.
After a successful meal, do it again, and you rewire that like eating is not safe.
Also, I imagine you'll be less likely to choke because you're more likely to choke if you're tense, right?
Same for falls. If you have a loved one who's high fall risk, once we have a fall, the most unsafe position for a human being to ever be in is on the ground. And so our body, you want to talk about living in a chronic state of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flop, is after somebody's had a fall.
Mm.
Reason is their whole body is tensing and overworking to not fall again.
Yes.
Because beings know that if we're on the ground, we're more likely to get eaten by the tiger. I know it sounds
Right.
it's how our primal brains are wired to keep us upright and do anything and brace to stay upright. And so these simple nervous system healing tools before a senior gets up to walk or do something, signal safety, do the thing, signal safety again. And then the brain over a few weeks realizes like, oh, it's safe to take a few steps, not actually going to fall.
Oh, I love that. That's super practical.
Yeah. It's so simple, but it can make, I think back to the initial question, though, the biggest thing when we say make it about them and not about you, older adults, all humans, we need our autonomy front and center. So make sure you're maintaining their autonomy while offering support, not just like diving in with support and solutions. Check in with them, what feels good to them, and then try to offer that solution. And then it usually all just goes much smoother.
Beautiful. Oh, that's so helpful. Is there anything else that you feel like it's important for us to know as we're heading into the holidays, or just that you want to share? I know you've learned so much this year. I mean, a lot of these tools that you're sharing with us, I know like you've been employing for years and years because you taught some of them to me when we were working together. But I love all of this nervous system healing layered on top of it. Just makes it so much more powerful and inspiring, really.
Two points to close with. I say this a lot. I believe that ageism is like one of the last fully socially acceptable forms of prejudice in America.
Yeah, we see it all the time.
Across all humans of all types, old people just have a incorrect label on them. And I think that a lot of older adults feel a little left out at the dinner table, at conversations, at holidays. They feel like people maybe are talking about them and not to them and with them. So I just want to remind everyone that there's so much wisdom and insight to be offered by the older adults that we spend our holidays with. And they want to be contributors to all of this. And so our role as caregivers and as loved ones and family members and friends is to help them remain engaged and respected and included in all of our holiday festivities. And like, if it's a neighbor who, don't just drop food off to a lonely person, encourage them to come share the meal or the food with you. Like it's such a simple gift that we can just get so busy we forget.
Yeah. Can I add on to that? Because I think that this is totally related. A lot of the time, I know older adults are dealing with hearing decline, right? And at an event like a holiday dinner or gathering, sometimes if you have hearing issues, and even if you wear hearing aids, it can be very hard to track the conversation that's happening when there's many, many conversations happening around you. So I've seen you do this. I know I do this as well. Like if you can find an opportunity to find a quiet spot and engage that older adult in a one-on-one conversation, it's so rewarding for everybody because they may feel like they're missing out on what's happening around them simply because the processing of the noise is difficult.
100%. And you just brought up my thought around cognitive impairment. If the person has dementia, these environments can be too much. Like, don't have guilt. If they're totally overstimulated, it's going to stress you out, but maybe have a one-on-one meal with them earlier in the day and then get them home and settled so that you can be fully present for the big gathering at your house. Like, depending on where they are in their cognitive journey, it is not always great to be around all of that stimulation, but it is important to engage with them and have that one-on-one. So it may mean a different way this year. Maybe the night before the holiday, you're having something more intimate with them. Or there's a separate room where it's a little calmer for them. I think just being able to adapt. This is where the grief comes in for the adult children. It does change over time. And like my mother-in-law cooks these massive meals every year, which are wonderful. It's becoming too hard for her. And so how can we get ahead of that and delegate so we can all be together, but she doesn't have to do all of the heavy lifting, like having a plan in advance. And this is the last thing I want to say is family dynamics. No one's changing. Your irritating brother is probably still going to be irritating. Don't expect anything from him.
We love our brothers, by the way.
Oh yeah, I didn't know my brother's not irritating. They adore him. But like whoever's coming to that, like, don't expect that like this is going to be different. Remember the magnifying glass. Holidays just intensify everything. But what I know to be true is when we can show up calm, connected, and grounded, it flows out. Like we get to be the thermostat in the room, and people meet that energy, and people will notice something different about you. I'm so intrigued to hear feedback from everyone if you start to use some of the tools that will be in the show notes. Like, how is this landing for you? Did you use it on the holiday when you were stressed or triggered?
Yeah.
And break things down into manageable bites. This doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection is not a thing.
Right.
Try to be present in the moment, because the presence is what the present that you'll receive in this is just being really engaged and available.
That's a beautiful note to end on, I think, unless there's anything else that you would like to say. And I think you also have some tools that I can link in the show notes so that people can really try these things and experiment and bring them into their own daily lives, one manageable bite at a time.
That is it. Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us for this week's episode of Home After 50. You can check the show notes for information on how to reach out to Erin, and you'll also find there a couple of tools that she has created for us, including the instructions for the lip gloss exercise and a caregiver guide that I think you will love. And remember, if you are looking for help with multi-generational living with your family, you can always visit my website, julieford.com/multi-gen, where you can download my free multi-generational living guide. And you can also get my wonderful 68-page downloadable toolkit that will help you with all things multi-gen living to create a successful and harmonious experience for your family. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time. Thanks so much for listening to Home After 50. If this episode resonated, I'd love it if you'd come hang out with me on Instagram. I am at It's Juli Ford, ITSJULIFORD. Just remember, no E on Julie. That's where I share ideas and behind the scenes about multi-generational living, real estate, business, and creating a next chapter that you love. And if you're curious about whether multi-generational living might be right for you, you can grab my free guide. It's in the link right in my Instagram bio. It's a simple way to get started imagining what's next. Because after 50, home isn't just a place, it's who we're becoming. See you next time.